Hello, this is my summative report and final exam for EDU 345, Reading Diagnosis and Assessment. I worked with two 2Ds this summer, but I only did reports for one of them. This 2D's name is Antoine Rhodes. He is a kindergartner at East Elementary School in Steubenville. I just had to mention how much I love working with him. I know this may not be the most important information in this presentation, but I just had to give him credit because he deserves all the love. He's the sweetest kid. Every time I met with him, he always had a big smile on his face, and he's such a goofball. He was always showing me his muscles and asking if I thought they'd grown since the last time we met. And then last thing, he's a hard worker. If he struggles, he wouldn't get mad or give up. He would just work even harder. So I just had to mention that. Now I'm going to talk about the objectives he struggled with and what we worked on along with the activities. So identifying letter names and sounds. For the assessments, right from the first assessment, it was clear that Antoine struggled with identifying letter names and sounds. Some of them he has down to a dime, but others he gets mixed up. For example, the letters B and D, M and N, and then W through Z. I would say by the last week he almost had all the letter sounds down, but he still struggled with the names. And then for the activities, we did name that letter and name that sound. We did them separately. I used several letter cards and presented each card to the student and had them name the letter. And then I repeated the same cards but asking for the sound of the letter. We would do a couple of letters at a time. First we would go over them together, and I would show the card and say the name or sound, or both, and he would repeat it back to me, and then after that he was to do them on his own, and we did this every week. The second was hears and says initial sounds in spoken words. For the assessment, Antoine did well on this part of the assessment, but he still needed some practice. After we worked on it together twice, he had it down, but we still reviewed it quite a few times. And then for the activities, naming that sound, present the student with 3 or 4 pairs of picture cards that begin with the same sound. Say the name of the picture and ask the student to identify what the first sound is in each word. Once the student is more comfortable with the activity, start to add more pairs of picture cards. I also use these picture cards to work on the letter names and sounds. For both of these activities, for all the objectives I mentioned, we would make different games out of them, and that helped tremendously. For example, we played Go Fish and matching. And at the bottom, here's an example of what the picture cards would look like. Unfortunately, the real ones I use are at school, so I had to look up similar ones. But I made my own based on pictures they were familiar with, as well as pictures of things they liked. So for steps I would take in the future, here are the next steps for instruction I would take if I had the opportunity. Keep strengthening his letter names and sounds, being confident in the alphabet, as well as writing the letters. I just think this foundation of reading and writing really needs to be established and solidified before he keeps moving up in his learning. That's the basis of everything, and it's just really important. He's able to identify and break words apart from hearing them being spoken out loud to him. He's really good at that. For example, if I say dog, he can say d, g. He can split the sounds apart as well as syllables. So if I said his name Antoine, he would clap and say Antoine. So once he could connect this to knowledge of letter names and sounds, he's going to do very well. What have I learned from this experience? How to accommodate students' needs, meeting students where they're at. We always learn in our education classes about how to accommodate to students' needs in different ways, whether they are struggling learners or diverse learners. But I've never been able to actually experience that one-on-one, so I got to work on practicing that and not just handing them what they need, but assisting them and guiding them to reach what they need. You're helping them learn how to use their struggles to get where they need to be. You're not just handing it to them. And then accommodating student interests. Everyone knows to try and make learning fun in the best way they can, but I was able to do this individually and find games and pictures that my 2D would like through a lot of trial and error, of course, and eventually I found what makes him click and enjoy what he's doing. And this includes keeping students focused. So this, I also learned a lot about this with behavior too. Kindergartners, they are young and jittery and always moving, and their minds are always on to the next thing, and they can't help it. So I found strategies to help with them to stay on track and focus, whether it was giving him 10 jumping jabs, asking him to give 10 jumping jacks after every activity we made, or with both my 2Ds, I made a handshake, and every time we met, we'd do the handshake, and they loved that. Or if we needed a break, we'd practice it. Um, so that was really fun. And I try to, and all these stories would come up since they're so young, their minds are everywhere. So I would always be told random stories, and I would try and relate it to what we were doing and not just shut them down every time. I know all these things seem like simple things, but they really gave me more experience with different kinds of strategies and just working with different types of learning, trial and error. I just want to thank Ms. Duckhatch and the teachers and faculty for partnering with us on behalf of myself and all the education students, even the faculty that worked at the front desk and let us in every day. I know sometimes we can be a lot, but we are so grateful to y'all and the experience and help you are giving to us. So thank you so much. I'd also like to thank Dr. McVeigh for everything you've done. I took my first education class with you my freshman year, and now I'm headed to my last year of school, so I just wanted to say how appreciative I am to you. In this last slide, I copied and pasted my goodbye letter to my 2Ds. I would give it to them separately. So one would say, Dear Antoine, one would say, Dear Zaman, but I combined it for this presentation, and it reads, Dear Antoine and Zaman, thank you for all the hard work you have put in during our time together. You two have done a job well done. I hope you keep working hard for your teachers and show them how smart you are. I know you have shown me how much you can do. I'm sorry our time working together has been cut short. I hope you are staying safe during this difficult time we are in. I owe both of you a sticker and a bag of hot Cheetos for all your hard work. I hope to see you again. Love, Miss Anna. And this is the end of my presentation, so I hope this was a good overview of what we worked on. Thank you.